How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. I'm Alex Strouf, and with me at the desk today are Michael Wengrzyn and Jackson Jirik. Guys, how we doing? How were the weekends, respectively?
You know what I was doing this weekend, Alex. You and I were on the broadcast for the final UWSP football game of the season. Bittersweet day. Pointers didn't come out with the win, unfortunately, but we got through the season. And overall, it was a good time. I had a lot of fun doing that stuff.
It's been a great season. You and I did, 3 or 4 games together this year. What a dynamic duo we are.
Yeah.
And we've got the other guy here who's just sitting here and not a part of the bromance.
I went to the volleyball games this weekend, so I had a good time supporting the Pointers out in Minnesota, in my home state. So I think they played great, and we'll talk about that in the show.
We will get to that.
Definitely.
We've got Pointers volleyball. We've got Pointers soccer, both in the NCAA Tournament. We've also got a whole lot of other stuff. MLB making headlines. We've got NFL player conduct issue. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up right here on the Sports Hub on SBTV. The fall sports season saw a couple of UWSP athletics programs making the NCAA Tournament. We start with the UW Stevens Point volleyball team, who received an automatic bid to the tournament after winning the WIAC championship a few weeks back. The Pointers opened up their tournament run against Augsburg University last week Thursday out in Minnesota. The team overcame a 2-1 deficit to beat the Augies in a thrilling, and I mean thrilling, 5-set match. The win would send the Pointers to face 12th-ranked St. Thomas the next night on the Tommies' home court. And guess what? Upset City. The Pointers pulled the upset. They swept the Tommies to advance to the third round, known as the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Tournament. The dream season unfortunately came to an end Saturday night. Although the Pointers would battle back from a 2-0 deficit, they forced a 5th set. The comeback effort was not enough as they fell 3-2 against the College of St. Benedict. Guys, obviously, ultimately, just a terrific run for the Lady Pointers. Give me your breakdown, Jackson. As you mentioned, you were there this weekend. What'd you see?
Yeah, the first game, holy cow. That was the most back-and-forth volleyball match, like all 5 I've ever seen in my entire life. It was
never not close.
It was crazy. I don't think there was one time where a team had more than a 4 or even 3-point lead.
I think it was 3 was max.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And that 5th set, the Pointers were down, I believe, it was 14-12. Mm-hmm. They came back and won that game 16-14. Unreal how the Pointers played in that first game. Lindsay Coy did a great job this year. That St. Thomas game, unreal. I was there. The St. Thomas team had a huge amount of fans there. It was just like crazy. But the Pointer parents that were there, huge support from them. It was awesome to be a part of that game. The band was great. The whole thing was just like surreal. Beating that 12th ranked team, great. The Pointers, although the third game, I felt like they just made the little mistakes, the things that cost you. And I think they could have won their first game, and I think they could have won the 5th game, even though they went to had to. But I think they didn't do the little things that they did, in the first and second games that they played in against St. Benedict. And because of that, they lost. But a season to be proud of, for sure. I mean, you make it all the way to the Sweet 16. Arguably, you could have been the 9th best team in the nation or the 16th best. But either way, you got to be proud of what you did. You won the WIAC. You upset 4 teams total throughout the season in a row.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Be proud of that. April Gale leading that team. Tara Emmy, too. Just crazy for those 2 girls to lead that team. I mean, the last point that St. Benedict got was off of April Gale, and I thought it was in bounds in my opinion. I don't know if you watched it or not, but just the way it ended was bittersweet, as you said before, and it sucks for the Pointers, but a season to be very proud of and a career, especially for April Gale, to be proud of.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Jackson, kind of an improbable run, right? This team probably wasn't supposed to. They weren't predicted to win the WIAC tournament. They do so. Then they end up as an underdog in all 3 games they play in the NCAA tournament, make it to the Sweet 16. Quite unreal. Michael, break this down for me.
Yeah, you want to talk about Cinderella seasons. I think UWSP was the team in the tournament that looked to be that example.
Right.
Looking at the WIAC tournament itself, they had to go and beat a tough UW Eau Claire team on the road, number 2 seed in the conference for the tournament. And then, of course, you have to go and play the top dog in them all, UW Whitewater. You do that on their own home court, win that in 5 sets. And then you're thinking, okay, now that they got an automatic bid, they're in the tournament now for the first time since 2015, I believe was their last tournament run. And as you mentioned, Jackson, they go up against the a tough team against Augsburg. Man, they win that one in 5 sets. They come back down from a 2-1 deficit, win that one in 5. Unbelievable play right there at the end, coming back and scoring 6 consecutive points to win that one out. And of course, sweeping the Tommies on their own home court. There's a little bit of a sweet treat with how much the UWSP volleyball team played the last week and a half of the season. And even though they did actually almost pull off a little bit more Cinderella magic there against the College of St. Benedict, it wasn't unfortunately meant to be this year. But you know what? The Pointers are losing only just 2 seniors, but unfortunately it is both April Gale and Tara Emmy. So there's a good chance for this program to continue the success they built up from this year.
When you mentioned the good chance, we might as well focus on what Jackson briefly did. Lindsay Coy in her first full year, not an interim tag this year, first full year as the head coach, does that.
Sweet 16, baby.
Pretty unreal. Pointers finished 28-9 overall. Now, staying with the theme of the NCAA tournament, the Stevens Point women's soccer team also made an NCAA tournament appearance, the first time they've done that since 2010. Although they fell to UW Lacrosse in the semifinals of the WIAC tournament, the second-ranked Pointers in the WIAC received an at-large bid to the Big Dance and faced Adrian College in St. Louis on Saturday. The game would prove to be quite the battle as neither team scored in regulation. Neither team scored in the first overtime, but the second overtime is where the Bulldogs scored the game winner and ended the Pointers' season. UWSP had a few chances to capitalize during the match, but couldn't quite put the pieces together. Guys, Dawn Crow and company making the tournament for the first time since 2010. Pretty big stuff regardless, even though they were eliminated in the round of 64.
Yeah, and I don't think really going into the season, anybody was expecting the Pointers to finish in the way that they did. I believe in the preseason rankings, they were expected to finish somewhere around 3rd or 4th in the conference, and of course they were number 2 in the conference, as you said. They did lose a tough one against UWO. They had to advance on penalty kicks, which is kind of a harsh way to lose in soccer, but nonetheless still receiving that large bid and making the most out of it. Adrian, I think you expect them to be a tough team, and that was the case. It wouldn't go down even in one overtime period. It would go down in a second overtime period. Unfortunately, the Pointers were on the wrong side of things. They had a lot of chances there during regulation. They had quite a few corner kicks in the first half of the game itself. Just not able to put, again, the pieces together. So there's a lot of great potential, I think, from this program here in the next few years. And we're going to see some good stuff, I think, even though there are a couple seniors that are graduating. There isn't, I believe, too many as well. So the program's in good hands.
A lot of underclassmen providing a big punch this season and punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament. Jackson, go ahead.
I think, Michael, you touched on it right there, the potential of the team. You know, they weren't supposed to make it to the WIAC championship game, and they didn't. But just the building, I think even volleyball and soccer, they have so much potential and so much to grow off of and build off of that. You know, there's no way they should be disappointed in themselves, even if they lost in the first round. You made it to the tournament. You know, that's huge. You haven't made it there since 2010. Build off of that, grow. Use that as, an expectation for next year. Expect yourselves to be that good. Expect it to make it back there because you know you have the talent to do it. You know you have the team to do it. So expect that out of yourselves. Do what you need to do to get back there. Set the goal to be that. And, lose the first game next year, whatever. But make it there first, keep building off of that, just like they did this year. And I think, both of these teams are going to be in really good hands for the rest of our careers here and for, many years to come.
UW Stevens Point finishes the season 11-5-3. Congratulations to both squads. Your hard work makes our jobs so much easier when you do what you do best. We're going to take our first time out. On the other side, we've got Badgers football, and it was Thursday night fight night in the NFL last week. We're going to break all that down. This is the Sports Hub on SB TV.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well, but it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
The Media Studies is a program for people who love to tell stories, whether that be in written form, visual, or audio.
Media Studies is exciting because it's always fresh, it's always new.
Media is at the center of everything we do. More and more people are asked to engage with media and use media. Our program really provides students with skills and techniques to be better prepared for that in the future.
We offer courses in media production, both video and audio, nonfiction and fiction, music production, journalism, film studies.
Media Studies is a great way to get hands-on experience in the field that you're looking to do. They teach you the basic concept behind everything, and then they tell you to go do it.
We really pride ourselves on thinking of a wide set of opportunities that we can give our students.
The student organizations are a great asset. We have SPTV, the student television organization, 90 FM, the radio, and The Pointer, our student-run newspaper.
It's a great way for students to get involved, learn skills that they need for class, and meet new people.
Some great facilities where our students can hone their skills.
There's a giant studio in the center of the comm building. I've had quite a few classes in there.
A lot of our classes are very hands-on, they're very interpersonal.
You're getting the skills that will allow you to create your future, and I think that's what makes it a truly amazing experience for students.
There's an incredible range of options for graduates. We've had students go out and become independent contractors, work for radio stations, newspapers, with TV stations.
Everyone is different and they have their own unique style. In all the classes and all the student organizations you get involved in, you have a lot of flexibility to really create your own work and do it in a way that means something to you.
We're excited to see what students are making and what they want to make, and how we can help students get from where they are to where they want to be.
I'm in a video production class that's teaching me how to film documentaries. I'm also in a screenwriting class and I get to learn how to write movies. So I'm doing all these different cool things and I love it every day.
Welcome back into the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. The 15th ranked Wisconsin Badgers took care of the Nebraska Cornhuskers on the gridiron this weekend, 37-21 final. It was in the Cornhusker State, by the way, a road win for the Badgers. They played a solid game, which was highlighted by a 20-point second quarter. Jonathan Taylor rushed for over 200 and had 2 scores on the day. Just another day at the office for JT. Guys, what's the main focus for the Badgers team in the final 2 weeks of this 2019-20 football season?
Well, you think Badgers can't do the same thing that they did earlier in the season where they overlooked a team like Illinois as they were getting ready for Ohio State the week after. So, of course, now with things shaping up in the Big Ten after a couple upsets, notably of Iowa beating Minnesota, you got to look ahead to Purdue first. Purdue is the team that's coming up right now on the horizon. Minnesota's next, but Purdue is right there in front of you. Senior day, it's going to be a tough game. Of course, the Badgers are going to still need a win, but a win would still set things up for a showdown with Minnesota for the Big Ten West. But, of course, it's all about Purdue right now. Get the win. Don't worry about what's ahead. Don't worry about what Minnesota's doing against Northwestern. Focus on yourself. Get your job done.
Absolutely. Jackson?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there. Just focus on the next week. Don't look ahead. They did that earlier in the season, and it cost them arguably a spot in the playoffs this year. So I think the next best thing for them is to win the Big Ten West, and that's just what they got to focus on. But it starts with Purdue, and then the following weekend, Thanksgiving weekend against Minnesota. They're going to have a tough game there, but we'll see how it goes. And I think that you hit it. Just focus on Purdue. Do what you can do. Let the other team. You control your own fate for the Badgers.
Exactly.
I think that's what they just need to focus on.
Yeah,
themselves.
That's probably the way to put it. They control their own destiny right now at this point. They did their job against Nebraska, but they will. Actually, at this point, the only people that can help them is themselves, because obviously a win would just keep things good for them, keep them safe, keep them alive. But it's also going to be dependent on Jonathan Taylor again, who had a solid game on Saturday, 200 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns. Jack Cohn had another solid day too as well, like 13 of 21 passes for about 150 yards passing around that area. And he had a touchdown today as well. So it's going to be dependent on whether or not Cohn goes out and plays very well. Jonathan Taylor, of course, you want to rely on every week. And the Badgers defense hopefully won't break instead of bend.
Exactly. Offense needs to roll. Defense needs to stay steady as the Badgers sit at 8-2 overall, only one game back in the Big Ten West, as mentioned. And again, as mentioned, they host Purdue in Madison, the finale at home on Saturday for Senior Day. Now strap in because this is about to get fun. Athletes are responsible for the actions they take, and player conduct became an issue in the final seconds of the Steelers-Browns game on Thursday Night Football. The situation, or should we say fight, started when Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph threw a screen pass outside with 10 seconds left in the game and was then pulled to the ground by Browns defensive end Myles Garrett. Rudolph tried to push Garrett off of him, and Garrett responded by yanking Rudolph's helmet off of his head, followed by a swing of the helmet to the head of Rudolph. The whole incident led to an indefinite suspension for Myles Garrett and a couple other Browns and Steelers players receiving 1 to 3 game suspensions. I don't even know where to start on this one, guys. What the heck do you take away from this? Mike, we'll start with you.
You know, I didn't really actually watch too much of the whole game itself because, you know, most Thursday Night Football games can be kind of a hit or miss, you know, sleep fest or a total snoozer. But then I saw on Twitter what happened in the last 10 seconds, you know, just like literally about the final play of the game. The Steelers were going to lose 21-7. And then all of a sudden you see Mason Rudolph, you know, he throws a pass, and then you kind of catch at the end there Myles Garrett pull him down and thinking, okay, you know, we're going to see something right here. Don't take the chin strap off yet, folks. This ain't over yet. Right. Picks him up, and then the helmet yank is like, okay, that's an ejection right there. And then the absolute just swing and clobber on the head of Mason Rudolph. It's like, okay, yeah, that's a suspension, possibly even for the whole season. And God, I don't know. It's just obviously the NFL did the right thing in suspending Myles Garrett for the rest of the season. He's the second player to follow suit with that kind of situation. Vontaze Burfict, he joins him in the not unemployment line, but suspension list. And I don't want to say that this jeopardizes Garrett's career in any way, but I think it might be part of the culture in Cleveland. I don't know if Freddie Kitchens has allowed this or if this is Garrett's own doing. He did have a concussion earlier in the game, so I don't know if that any kind of factored into his decision-making. So it's a tough standpoint to look at.
Look, it is a tough standpoint, but I don't think there's any excuse for what he did, regardless of what Mason Rudolph did. I know you're kind of on, Jackson, you're kind of on the Mason Rudolph deserved a suspension as well bandwagon, right?
Yeah, I think the way you put it, it was all Myles Garrett. That wasn't it. Myles Garrett got kicked in the lower area where a man should not be kicked by Mason Rudolph. And I think that, you know, really led to Myles Garrett going after Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph tried to take off Myles Garrett's helmet too. If you watch the whole video, which you should have seen that Mason Rudolph instigated that. Obviously, I think Myles Garrett played through the whistle, and I don't think he realized that Mason Rudolph, didn't have the ball, but he was kind of just like trying to take him down. And I think that Mason Rudolph went after him, which then led to Myles Garrett going after him, and then he got kicked. And then he was like, okay, I've had enough of you. You're way too small for me. I'm just going to take off your helmet. I'm going to hit you on the head. You're just absolutely get destroyed by me. And then all hell broke loose. And I think that it was just, if you're going to suspend Myles Garrett, fine. He should have done for the rest of the year, maybe even an entire year next year. I would even go to say that far, because you do not take off a player's helmet, use it as a weapon, and hit him on the head. But I do believe Mason Rudolph should have been suspended for at least 3 games. I think he's getting away lucky, and I think maybe Myles Garrett deserves more. But it's hard to say because the NFL can't even get pass interference calls right.
You're not wrong on that front. But look, I agree. I think Mason Rudolph, he was the one that initiated this whole thing. But it takes 2 to tango. And what Myles Garrett did is absolutely inexcusable. It's the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in any sport ever. Period, point blank.
100% agree.
You could have killed the man.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
An NFL helmet, I saw a fun little statistic.
Yes.
NFL helmet weighs 6 pounds. A normal red brick weighs 5 pounds. He hit a man over the head with 6 pounds, and he's a ginormous man. Myles Garrett is a former #1 overall pick. The guy's kind of a beast, and he swung a helmet at a man. Ridiculous. I don't think he should play football ever again. Period, point blank. I don't think he should be on the football field.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is any team going to really want Myles Garrett after the situation?
If he's cleared from the commissioner's list, absolutely. The guy's an absolute animal. However,
they're going to have a lot to do with it.
Right. I understand your temper gets to you, right? I get it. I get that you're angry and it's a heat of the moment. It's an impulse decision. But it's inexcusable 110%.
He literally could go to jail for assault. Do we understand how the serious implications of this situation are absolutely, they flabbergast me. It's unreal to me how a man on a football field getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play a game will do that. Will literally try to kill a man with 10 seconds left in a meaningless game. Unreal to me.
Yeah, he makes the Dominican Sue and Albert Hainsworth look like choir boys with what he did. Unreal.
So I guess last question. Fault in the culture, Cleveland, who's to blame here? You kind of mentioned it. You don't think it's Freddie. I mean, it's Myles Garrett, right? This is not a culture thing, right?
100% Myles Garrett.
I agree.
Yeah, and there'd probably be more Browns players trying to rip people's heads off if that was the case in Cleveland. But I think it's probably Garrett's fault. And honestly, this is probably the worst thing to happen in Cleveland since Bottlegate.
Since Bottlegate.
I think this is the worst thing to happen in the NFL. Period.
I agree.
Yeah.
Period. Not even the Cleveland Browns, not the rivalry they had in the NFL. Period.
I'm with you 100%. I've never seen anything quite like that. I hope I never see it again because that has no place in the game. I'm sweaty. I'm fired up. I need to hydrate and clean myself up. We're going to take our final timeout. When we come back, we've got more controversy to talk to as the Houston Astros are in the midst of one of their own. This is the Sports Hub on SBTV.
UW-Stevens Point is home. It's a university where professors know your name and get you involved in research.
They inspire us to realize big dreams.
At UW-Stevens Point, sustainability is what we stand for.
Our beautiful campus encourages exploration, developing new fields, and problem solving for the real world.
It's a great place to launch your career.
UW-Stevens Point is home.
Apply today at uwsp.edu.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Welcome back in. I'm glad you didn't change the dial. This is the Sports Hub here on SBTV. The 2019 baseball season has been finished for several weeks, but they're still making headlines. Cheating allegations, this time against the Houston Astros. Over the past roughly 10 days, the Astros have been in the spotlight due to reports from former pitcher Mike Fiers about the Astros stealing signs during games, particularly during their and his 2017 championship season. The reported methods include using an outfield camera to view signs from the catcher and making loud banging sounds in the dugout when the pitcher threw an off-speed pitch. While the MLB has launched an official investigation, there have been many videos, pictures, and other sources of media released in showing how the Astros have been trying to gain an unfair advantage. Guys, for me this is, but for you, is this the craziest method of cheating, if you will, you've ever seen in the MLB?
I mean, yeah, if you take a look at, honestly, how they remind me of, like, Bill Belichick and Spygate and with the video cameras that he used to steal signals from the Jets. But that was, like, 10, almost 15 years ago. So that was, like, completely different. And, it's kind of, like, looked at as something that New England, you would expect them to do something like that. This, however, is completely different. This is, like, stealing literal signs, using camera, video technology to gain an advantage from the game on hand. And then, of course, the banging sounds, you can kind of like partake or put that in with something I don't know about the game itself, just like trying to have a little fun in the dugout or trying to like keep it rowdy in there. That's a little different part of it. So with this situation, it's different because, we've heard of corked bats, we heard of guys on steroids, we've seen the balls, there's been allegations about the balls being juiced and all that stuff. This is probably, I think the craziest cheating scenario I think I've ever heard of in MLB history. And, it's not by a team like the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Cubs. It's by a smaller market team such as the Astros. I wouldn't expect anything like this to happen, especially out of a team that has made 2 World Series appearances in the last 3 years.
Right. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say because I think you got everything right there. The Astros, if you're going to steal signs, use your first or third base coach, or when you have guys,
cheat more strategically.
Yeah, like seriously, if you're gonna do it, don't use, do it. I'm assuming this happens with all the other MLB teams. I think but the scenario here is that they were using technology that's shown to the viewers that watch MLB games from their own home. And I think that's why this is such a big deal. If you're going to cheat, which I'm sure all the teams do, first or third base coach, or when they have guys on base, something like that. But seriously, you have to use cameras, and then you have to relay that from the dugout by going and hitting the top of the dugout with your bat or whatever it was, because we didn't know what it was. And then, it was 2 bangs. That was it. Every time a changeup was put down and they agreed to it, there was 2 bangs right away. That came from the video. If there's something else, like a first or third base coach says, hey, look for something off speed here, it might try and throw you off. Something like that. Most teams are probably going to do that. But using, videos, and it's just a mess. And I honestly think that, something needs to be done. 500,000 to the Astros, strip them of their banner, something like that. But it's just the reason it was is I read this. There was an Astros executive who asked scouts to go cheat, or not cheat, but look at teams who are in the playoffs and find ways to pick up their signs. And it was for the playoffs, not for the regular season, but for the playoffs. And I think that's why, they should be stripped of it, is because it was for those teams in the playoffs, like the Yankees or whoever they faced, I forget.
Red Sox might be in there too.
Yeah, and it's just those types of things because of that. If it wasn't, using your video cameras in the outfield, then I would say, okay, maybe 500,000 and that's it, But using what you did and doing what you did, I think that they should be stripped of their championship.
I think you're absolutely insane. I know Houston hosts the headquarters of NASA, but this ain't rocket science. This is very, very simple. It's not hard to do this. You mentioned the viewers see this at home.
You're right.
It's not hard. It's not a big deal. I think any talk of stripping the banners absolutely bananas insane. I'm not even going to talk.
So let me ask you this question. If the Astros did it and it cost the Milwaukee
Brewers, they did do it.
But okay, listen to me. If the Astros did it against the Milwaukee Brewers and it cost them the World Series, would you be more upset about it?
No. I don't think. I think every team in the MLB does this. I think
every single team.
You literally just mentioned it. You can see this on television.
You're right.
It's not rocket science.
You're right. So
you put 1 and 2 together. 1 + 1 is 2. It's not that hard. We're running out of time, so we got to cut it short. That is all the time we have for you today on the Sports Hub. I'd like to thank Jackson and Michael for hanging out with me on today's episode. We'd like to thank our technical staff, Jake the director for the first time. Shout out to him. You guys make this show possible. We appreciate you. Please check out our Facebook page at SPTV-UWSP Television and follow us on Instagram at SPTV_UWSP. You can also follow our SPTV and SPT Sports Twitter pages as well. Lastly, you can check out the UWSP athletics page for all things Pointer. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of The Hub.